The Pirates made one run stand up to take game 4, but it might be time to consider letting someone other than Brian Reynolds protect Oneil Cruz in the order. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're going to talk about this game, obviously. Let's start with the good. Oneil Cruz led off with a homer, and Andrew Heaney made it stick. There's your summary. I mean, not much else happened in this game. Neither team really hit. Oneil Cruz led off with a big blast off Trevor Williams. It was his second consecutive home run. Last one was the grand slam the other night against Washington. So Oneil Cruz, a couple big flies that kind of charged this offense. Fortunately for them, they got one hell of a performance out of Andrew Heaney. He was crazy good. 7.1 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Looked brilliant all day. Unhittable, actually. Really, really figured out James Wood. Super interesting the way that they attacked him up and in with the fastballs, and he couldn't lay off him to save his life. Brian Hayes had a key play down the third baseline in the 8th inning that probably really helped secure this one. Brian Reynolds is simply not providing the kind of protection for Oneil Cruz that you'd hope. And he's been married to the 2-hole for years now. The only thing keeping him there is a lack of overall alternatives, though, the way he's putting up numbers. Couple walks today. Those are normally good signs for Brian Reynolds, but he's also striking out still. And this time looking. And it's not even his typical disagreement with the umpire type looking. It's just completely getting fooled, expecting something that he didn't get. So the Pirates might need to consider, if they're going to have Oneil Cruz leading off, at least for right now, while Brian Reynolds is this cold, maybe leaving him in the 2-hole isn't the best idea. Maybe drop him down in the lineup a little bit, move everyone else up, put Hayes up at the 2-hole or whatever for now. See if you can maybe just find some new combination to shake him out of whatever this slump is. It's ugly so far. I mechanically, I just haven't seen Brian look this off from both sides of the plate in quite some time. Really looks like he's laboring to make decisions with his swing. He's a little bit late on just about everything. He's a little bit under just about everything. It's not been going great for him so far. That to me is the biggest question that comes out of this series now. With him being healthy and able to play the field, it's not as difficult to keep him in the lineup, but you're also not married to having him as the DH. So that means you could consider keeping Henry's bat in the lineup and Bart and moving both of them up in the lineup a little bit to see if you can't lengthen this thing out a little bit. Brian Reynolds is a good player. He will figure it out. It's just, in the meantime, while you've only got 1 or 2 bats doing anything, do you want to take that time right now? Would it maybe be better served just dropping him down to 5 for a while? See how that rolls. You can always move him back up to 2. You can even do it right away. When this lineup does get fully healthy and you have Spencer Horwitz and Nick Gonzalez come back, those are the first 2 that we would probably be looking to have come back up. Well, maybe you're talking about a different conversation at that point. You can see the Pirates potentially want to lead off with Spencer Horwitz. He's an on-base machine, but he's slow. So I'm not 100% sure I would go that route, but I could see them doing it. And it certainly looks like they haven't had a real plan for it. Brian Reynolds following him, I'm not sure. Is that the best idea? Is he the type of hitter that needs to be following a slower guy? Would that hurt his RBIs? Maybe you don't do that at all. Maybe you leave Oneil Cruz at leadoff and put Spencer Horwitz at like the 3-hole or something, 4-hole even. I don't think that cleanup means what it used to anymore. I don't think leadoff means what it used to anymore. At least baseball doesn't see it the same way anymore. Leadoff is now seen as like, yeah, well, you're going to hit there once, but the main driver for putting them in the leadoff spot is to make sure they get as many at-bats as possible. In that same ethos, that's why you put Brian Reynolds at number 2. You want your best hitters to get the most opportunities. Well, lately, Brian hasn't been one of their best hitters. In fact, I don't even think he's been one of our most threatening hitters. If you want the truth, I've felt better recently with Emmanuel Valdez at the plate in a key situation than I have Brian Reynolds. So, again, I fully expect him to turn it around, but not so far. Joey Bart jumped back into game action today. Had a hit. Looked kind of pain-free. I mean, I felt like he looked like he grimaced here and there. I didn't like the look after he took a swing and came up empty in one of his at-bats. I don't think he tweaked anything, but I also think when you have a back problem, it's really easier to tweak your back than it was before you would be a person that claimed you had a back problem. Brian Hayes probably knows a lot about this. So he has somebody to talk to, right? Even so, good to see Joey back. We talked about Emmanuel Valdez already. Another nice hit today. He's hitting. Is he a cleanup hitter, though? No. Is he a 5-hole hitter? Probably not. But in this lineup right now, as currently constructed, is it okay that they're using him there? Yeah. I mean, it is. If you think about it, he's one of the 5 or 6 most threatening hitters in this lineup right now, right? And that's saying something. And because it's not like this guy's got 4 home runs or something he's sitting on. It hasn't been good. The lineup itself is a problem. Moving Brian Reynolds probably doesn't make a lot of sense because it just isn't anybody better. But with the DH spot now going back to Kutch, you have a little bit more flexibility there. Maybe now's the time to play with that a bit. Maybe now's the time to back up Oneil Cruz with Andrew McCutchen. I can say that Brian Reynolds is not preventing Oneil Cruz from getting base hits, right? But we have had Oneil Cruz backing Brian Reynolds, and Brian Reynolds struggled, and then Oneil Cruz would get walked. Well, now we've got Brian Reynolds backing up Oneil Cruz, and what happened? Brian Reynolds walked, a couple times. So he's not getting pitched to, which means ultimately Andrew McCutchen isn't scaring anyone, right? So the bottom line, they just have got to get more offense in this lineup. They have to. You want to talk about some of that? Let's do the minor league update. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelancer talents across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Upwork.com. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. It's time for a minor league update. I've been threatening to do this for a couple weeks now, right? Well, we just haven't had a lot of stats. I wanted to wait until we had some more stats. And I'm going to try to get us somebody that pays even closer attention to the minor leagues than I do on the show weekly once I get rolling here and the minor leagues really pick up all the way. But we have enough to talk about this week. We really do. A lot of good performances, pretty much all up and down this system. The only place I'm really not going to talk about is Greensboro. I just haven't seen anything that really piqued my interest so far from that. So we'll start with Hunter Barco. He's pitching for AA Altoona right now. 3 games into his workload this year, 0 ERA so far, 13 innings pitched, 14 Ks, and a 0.62 whip. Wow. Hunter Barco, go ahead and get yourself promoted, my friend. His biggest problem for getting a promotion to AAA is going to be that AAA is stacked. Pirates are going to have to promote somebody from AAA in order to make room for Hunter Barco to get his promotion, but he's going to earn it. That kid will not be held back for very long. Left-handed, really, really solid starting prospect. Be excited about Hunter Barco. It's okay. Bubba Chandler, 3 games. Talk about being excited, right? 3 games, 10.2 innings pitched, 18 Ks, 0.84 whip, 169 ERA. He has been unhittable and filthy. Filthy. The most interesting stat there is only 10.2 innings pitched in those 3 games. The Pirates are very clearly slow walking him into the season. They're restricting his innings big time, hopefully with an eye towards having him have something left in the tank towards the end of the season. Gee, I wonder why they might want to do that. Either way, positive start for Bubba Chandler. Nick York, there's been a lot of people chattering for Nick York to get a chance to make his debut this season with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I would say let's pump the brakes a bit. He came back from the IL not very long ago, 31 at-bats so far, 1 home run, 194 average, and a 693 OPS. Just doesn't look all that comfortable yet. I would let this play out just a bit more. You'll know when Nick York's ready, because when Nick York's ready, he'll be drilling gap shots all the time. Even if they get caught, you'll know he's hitting the right kind of ball to have success up at this league. I have not seen that so far this year. I have not admittedly watched every at-bat that he's had. I'm just saying I've watched enough that I personally think let's give it a little more time. I'm not even going to mention Billy Cook. Let that sink in, because I keep seeing him listed as somebody that needs to get called up right away too. No. There's something wrong with Billy Cook. He didn't look good all spring. He hasn't looked good this whole season yet. There's something very off with him. Let's let that play out a little bit longer. Great glove. So if you need just a glove in the outfield, okay, but I think they need to do a little bit more work there. Termar Johnson down in AA Altoona, 37 at-bats, 1 home run, 270 average, and a 764 OPS. It's good to see the average climbing with Termar Johnson. Termar Johnson has spent a couple years trying like hell to prove that he can be a home run hitter, and the Pirates have spent a couple years trying to make him prove that he's a power hitter. Well, he has power. He will hit some home runs, but Termar Johnson is first and foremost a bat-to-ball contact guy. That's what he was drafted as. That's what I think he'll ultimately be best at. If you evolve him the right way, he's a guy that hits for average, and he has that sneaky power where he can just pop a few out. There's been plenty of successful second basemen that hit like that. Termar Johnson is one of those guys, I think. He will earn his promotion to AAA this year, I believe, if he continues on this track. Might even get himself a cup of coffee if he's not careful. We'll see what happens there. Certainly not a bust, though. I've seen people still saying silly things like that. Certainly not a bust. Crazy that it's even said like that. David Bednar, 5 games, 0 ERA, 5 innings pitched, 7 Ks, and a 0.20 whip. It doesn't get much better than that. I warned you a week or so ago that I've been watching him and I wasn't really happy with his outings. Well, I've watched the last 3. There's a lot more to like. The sinker is landing. in the bottom of the zone. The fastball still doesn't have enough movement, if you ask me, but he's commanding it well. And the curveball, he's able to drop it in a little bit better. I'm seeing it come in the bottom of the zone, and he's even getting a little bit of chase on the outside with it. So good to see. I would expect David Bednar to probably creep back towards the very back end of the Indianapolis bullpen before he gets a chance to come back up here. But I wouldn't expect this to be a months-long project. I would think another outing or two, and they're going to have a hard time not bringing David Bednar back up. You can laugh if you want, but they are paying the guy $6 million, okay? He's been paid $6 million now to have 5 really good games in AAA. You don't want to let that rot down there either, okay? It may not work. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it will, but like, you send a guy down to do certain things. He's done certain things. It's going to happen sooner than later here. Spencer Horwitz is going to be starting a rehab assignment in Bradenton sometime this week, maybe even this weekend. He's been fielding and taking batting practice at PNC Park. I would imagine this happens as early as Tuesday, maybe even this weekend. They could potentially squeeze him into a game. But they're going to start him in Bradenton. I wouldn't expect him to be down there for a week or something, but I bet he plays about 2 games a stop. You know, they'll play him down there a couple, then they'll move him up to Indianapolis and let him just continue to feel it out. Looking at probably early May for him if everything works out. Let's jump down to Bradenton and stay down there. How about Axial Plaz, catching prospect, 40 at-bats, 375 average, 894. This kid's 19 years old, people. He's worth getting excited about. And yeah, we don't need a catcher right now, but it's a lot better than looking all through the system and realizing you don't have any, right? Axial Plaz is no joke. He's got the frame for it. He's really got the frame to ultimately wind up hitting for a lot more power than he has. But 375 average, that doesn't happen by accident in 40 at-bats either. He's done really, really well so far. I would expect him to get promoted to Greensboro before too long. They need catching really anywhere but AAA and Major Leagues. So I could see him moving up. Connor Griffin, 39 at-bats, 231 average, 802 OPS, 2 home runs, and 6 stolen bases. So as advertised, if you put Connor Griffin on base, he gonna steal. And boy, he don't hesitate much. He's a threat to go just about every time he's on base. The power is nice to see. The average you'd like to be a little higher. 39 at bats, it's really hard to get too sweaty about it. And he is making great contact a lot. I mean, he's lined out 5 or 6 times just in the past 2 games. So Connor Griffin is on a good track. Don't worry about him. Certainly seems like a good pick so far. High school student, or high school aged player performing this way in Bradenton without having to go to the FCL or anything first is a really good sign. You should take it as such. I think he'll wind up in Greensboro before this year is over. Hopefully around the All-Star break, so he actually has some soak time there. Last one I wanted to touch on individually here is Johnny Severino. Pirates got him a couple years back from the Brewers in a deal. International prospect, 45 at-bats, 2 home runs, 156 average, and a 547 OPS. Yeah, I know. Why am I talking about a guy that's hitting 156? Well, the reason I'm talking about Johnny Severino is because we've been waiting for this power to emerge. So 2 home runs already and 45 at-bats is a great start for Johnny Severino. It's what you need to have from him to prove that he's ready for a promotion to the next level. I'd really like to see Axial Plaz, Connor Griffin, and Johnny Severino all make it to Greensboro here around the All-Star break. And I think that's not completely out of line. Good start to the minor league season, though. We're not getting performances from some of the people that we thought we might, but like Nick York especially and Billy Cook, I think have probably been 2 of the bigger disappointments thus far. That said, Nick York, again, was injured for quite some time. Billy Cook just out of sorts. Just nothing's going right. He had a couple spells like this in Baltimore, which is ultimately why he was available. You know, it's ultimately why they were perfectly fine with moving on from him, because when he goes into these spells, they're apparently deep and dark and they last quite some time. And when he comes out of them, well, you've seen a little bit of that. I want to talk a little bit more about the weekend that is coming up here. The Pirates are getting ready to face the Guardians for a 3-game set at PNC Park. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. We're going to talk a little bit about the weekend ahead here. The Guardians come to town, and the Pirates and Guardians probable pitchers look like this. On Friday, old friend Luis Ortiz returns to town. No way there'll be any fireworks there, right? Facing Carmen Mlodzinski. A lot of interesting things about this matchup. One, Carmen Mlodzinski opened how many games for Luis Ortiz last year? 3 or 4? And Luis Ortiz, a lot of people feel Carmen Mlodzinski is going to slot right into what he was. He could be a long man. He could pitch out of the back of the bullpen, or, he could start. So we'll see how that plays out. You couldn't ask for a better head-to-head matchup there. Luis Ortiz started out really rough in Cleveland. Last outing was a lot better. A lot more of the Luis Ortiz we saw last year, hitting his spots a little bit better, landing that sinker in the bottom of the zone or right below it and getting swings and misses. Slider was back to normal. Fastball still didn't have a lot of metric favor to it. A lot of people still don't like the shape of the fastball. And his underlying stats still suggest that he's the same pitcher he was last year. Lucky one. So we'll see what happens against the Pirates. I don't think it takes as much luck to beat them as some other teams. So chances are the Pirates will make him look good, but they should be pretty familiar with him. Carmen Mlodzinski, he's been hit or miss so far. We'll see what happens. Then on Saturday, Ben Lively versus Paul Skeens. What do you want me to say? That Paul Skeens isn't the favorite? He should be, right? LT Allen versus Mitch Keller gets the matinee on Sunday to finish things out. Should be another good matchup. Pirates should be in good shape facing Cleveland here. Cleveland is 9-8. And, it's not like they're boat racing the Pirates record wise. The AL Central and the NL Central match up pretty well with each other. I'd say the Cubs are really the only team standing out in any way, shape, or form. Maybe the Tigers, I guess you could say, are starting to separate themselves a little bit. They certainly have better pitching than most of the rest of the division, and the Royals are off to a brutal start for them. I thought they were going to be better than they are. Even so, Cleveland's a formidable team, and they do formidable things. Thing is, this isn't the same Cleveland team that was coached by Terry Francona, where they make less with more or more with less. Maybe they do make less with more. In some ways, they do have more than they had with Terry Francona, and it isn't working out as well. So the Pirates should be in good shape to kind of hold serve here. It would be really, really good to take 2 of 3 from Cleveland and put a definitive win stamp on this homestand, following up that lackluster performance in Cincinnati. It'd be really nice to bounce back and take a good jump forward in this homestand. You get a chance to play some lesser teams, and 3 or 4 from the Washington Nationals, following that up with 2 of 3 from Cleveland would be a good statement. Something else interesting that's going to play out here a little bit. Joey Bart, I had mentioned, came back healthy today and played. I don't know if they're right back to like he's the everyday starter, or if part of the recovery plan for him might be to take a day off in between starts or something along those lines. But either way, we're just starting to see Henry Davis catch on a little bit here at the major league level. Three games in a row with a hit, home run the other night. Really caught good ball games. Defensively, I think he's the strongest of their catchers. I'd like to see him get an opportunity to latch on here before Endy goes on a rehab assignment at some point, because I'm not 100% convinced Endy should just come right back up to the majors like nothing happened. He has not hit all that well. If they're going to want him to play first base, I'd like to see him play a volume of first base. If they're going to ask him to play something like the outfield, like he has in the past, I'd like to see him get a chance to play a little bit of outfield in the minors first before coming back up, even if it's just on a rehab assignment. I can see a world where these 3 catchers coexist on the roster together, but it's a tight squeeze. And if Spencer Horwitz comes back, and the way it looks to me right now, Spencer Horwitz is probably going to beat Endy back to the roster, if not be right on time with them. I don't know what you do with Endy. He's not going to be your everyday first baseman. I don't think it's enough to ask him to platoon with Horwitz. I'm not even 100% sure you want to commit to the fact that Horwitz needs to be platooned. I know what his early numbers look like, but you sent out a significant amount for him to be your starting first baseman, and I'd like to see if he can be an everyday starting first baseman, and I'd like to see it sooner than later. So I'm not sure that you want to spend a lot of time putting Endy over there. They might do it just to get his bat in the lineup, but there's something they're going to have to deal with for relatively in short order. If Henry has kind of proven, hey, I'm ready, I need to be here, and I think at 25, the team needs to be there. At some point with Henry, you stop going like you were a 1-1, you're supposed to be this. And you look up and you take a breath and you go, okay, what you were supposed to be, maybe that's not what you are. Here's what Henry is for sure. A bona fide defensive upgrade at catcher. They don't have a catcher that's better than him right now. His arm's better than Endy. He makes better decisions with the ball than Endy. He blocks more balls than Endy. He calls a better game than Endy. Right now, you can train Endy up. If you let Endy focus, I think Endy would ultimately beat him out. But right now, Henry Davis is the best defensive catcher they have near the top of the system. I'd like to see him get an opportunity to hold on to his spot, no matter how he got it. You can't deny that this team needs more power. And if Henry's going to hit home runs, then Henry needs to be up here. And if Henry's going to hit, then Henry needs to be in the lineup a lot more than a backup catcher typically would. Which means ultimately they might have to find another place for Henry to play too. They do have the DH spot open again now. Like I said, Brian Reynolds is back to playing the field. That should open up a door for maybe sliding Bart into that spot here and there. I know that you just got to the point where you can get back to playing Kutch a little bit more frequently. That's cool. But you need to save that spot a little bit for Joey Bart. don't forget that Andrew can play the outfield now. Just because you don't have to do it now doesn't mean you should forget that you can do it. Andrew McCutchen is much more valuable to this team if he's able to go out and field even once a week. They could stretch this lineup out and make up, at least to a degree, for their lack of talent if they just deploy Andrew McCutchen a little differently and Joey Bart a little differently. You might be able to get to the point where you're 6 or 7 deep in that lineup. You get Spencer Horwitz and Gonzalez back, you could be talking about 7 or 8. That's all of a sudden a lineup that might actually score some runs. Baseball's a funny sport, man. Like, we could be looking at a completely different team by the All-Star break if they end up having to swap to all kids. And Manuel Valdez as a first baseman is a failed experiment, if you ask me. So you get Spencer Horwitz back. I don't see Manuel Valdez continuing to be on this team, even though he's hitting. Maybe you want to carve out a bench role for him, but how do you do that if you're going to hold on to Adam Frazier, Jared Triolo, and Nick Gonzalez? Feels like the writing's on the wall in many ways for a lot of big changes to come to the team. In the meantime, let's focus on trying to get 2 or 3 out of the Guardians. Let's see what I can do about doing another special show on Saturday. I really enjoyed the last one we did. Look for that. And you're going to have my shorts every day. I'm going to do a pregame and a postgame every day just to talk about the games. So a lot of content coming to the Locked On Pirates site here as often as I can make it happen. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.